Y'all know what time it is. It's a new month. So it's time for me to do another monthly wrap up. Let's go over the books that I read for the month of April. First up, the first book that I read for the month was Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz. This is an autobiography, and I got into this book purely just because, well, I've had this book for quite some time, but I was in between audiobooks and I have been binge watching One Tree Hill. I've been rewatching it with a friend, and I love Nathan and Haley's character. So if you haven't watched One Tree Hill, do it. It's a cult classic show for a reason. And I loved the pairing, Nathan and Haley, and Bethany Joy Lenz, she plays Haley's character. So I was like, you know what? Let me dive into this book, her story, because she does talk about her time on the show. So I was already involved in that. I wanted to know more about her time there. But I also knew that she was in an actual cult. Now she talks about her time actually in a religious cult that she was in. And I find cults so interesting to just because, like, the whole idea of a cult and how you can, like, get involved in one, because you think about, how does one kind of get coerced into a cult? Because you're like, I'm smarter than that. But it's not even so much as being smart. It's like emotional manipulation. They play on your insecurities, and that's what they do here. They played on, like, her own emotional insecurities and her own faults with her own parents, and the things that she didn't rely on, like couldn't rely on with her own family, and what she had so much faith in with her own religion and everything. It was mind-boggling, the manipulation that was at play here. And what a good read it was. I gave this book 5 stars. I was locked in from moment one. So good. If you need, like, something thrilling that is actually real life, I don't do a lot of, like, nonfiction, really hardly ever, because not really my jam. But I think autobiographies, or like just biographies in general, are so interesting purely just because they seem so wild and they feel like fiction, but they actually happen. So I love this one because this one was just crazy. So good. Next up, I'm not going to really say much about this one, purely just because it's the third book in the series and it's a continuation. So I'm not going to spoil anything. But this one is Bitter Burn by Sierra Simone. And this book, I really enjoyed this book purely just because I loved the series as a whole. The first 2 books, which is Salt Kiss and Honeycut, they all kind of take POVs from each of the characters, and this POV I was very excited to get into, purely just because it's the most mysterious of the 3 POVs. He has the most secrets of the 3 characters, and so getting to get behind the scenes of his POV, it was everything I needed. And getting those answers, there was so many questions up in the air, so finally getting the answers I was seeking, the closure that I needed. And this one was also really spicy, but it had so much emotional intimacy that really pulled at my heartstrings. So I really enjoyed this book so much. It was so good, and I think it was a solid end to the trilogy as a whole. So I gave this book 4.5 stars. I think the entire trilogy was chef's kiss as well. I do suggest, if you're going to read the series, to definitely give the first, like the original series, because this is a spin-off series. The first series is the Camelot series. Read that series first and then get into this series. Um, I did love this series more than the Camelot series, but the Camelot series is still really good. But you will spoil things from the Camelot series if you read this series. So definitely read the Camelot series first and then read the Lioness series. But both series are really good. But yeah, really good series. Sierra Simone, she really knocked it out of the park with this one. Okay, again, this is going to be a continuation, so I'm not really going to say much about the plot for these next two books, but for these ones, I was again continuing the series. So Legendary, I read, this is the continuation of Caraval that I started in March. Months. Can't think of the months. Time is blending. So Legendary I read, and this one followed mainly Donatella's character, and I don't like Donatella. And if you know me, you know that characters for me are really a make or break as far as storylines go. If I don't like being in that character's POV, like if I don't like the main POV's character, I am not having a good time. I'm not having a good time. If I can't root for the main character, then I am not enjoying the book. So for this one specifically, I was not having a wonderful time purely just because Donatella, the FMC in this book, she was annoying. She was so annoying, and she was selfish. She was selfish. She was a selfish character. Kept going back and forth. I didn't really see the motivations between the love interests. Like I loved like the villain character more than her other love interest that she kind of fell for more. But overall, I couldn't get over the FMC and her motivations towards anything. Anything that she did just had selfish tendencies. She didn't really care about how her actions hurt anyone. And yeah, I just needed more of the other sisters like storyline, which she got like no actions in here. I wanted more of Scarlet and more of Julian, and I didn't really get any of them in this book. It was more Donatella's book than anything else. And I didn't like Donatella, so I was not having a good time. I gave this book 3 stars. Now moving on to Finale, which I kind of put off for a little bit because I was getting over my dislike for Legendary. But I was actually pleasantly surprised that I actually enjoyed this one. I thought it wrapped everything up pretty nicely. The action was well done. I thought we got a little bit more information about the magic aspect that we didn't really get in this one because we got introductions to these characters called the Fates. There was very little information about them in this one. But we got a little bit more information on them in this one. And then we dragged in more of Scarlet and Julian, which again, I love their characters. So loved that. And then when the only thing that I didn't like again happened around Donatella, there was a lot of back and forth between her and her love interest. It just kept going around and around and around, and I was just exhausted. It just felt very repetitive. So anything against this book, again, surrounded Donatella's character and her plot line. So, but everything else about this book I thoroughly enjoyed. So for that reason, I gave this book 4 stars. I am very excited about the spin-off series of Once Upon a Broken Heart to see where that MMC's character goes, because I really loved his character in this book and I really feel like he got the short end of the stick of it all, to be honest. But anyways, moving on. All right, next up, we're moving on to, again, the ending, or another continuation of a series, which is Mockingjay. Mockingjay. Talk about your disappointments. I actually DNF'd this book in high school. I couldn't remember what happened in this book. I'm actually buddy reading this series with a friend, and I remember telling my friend, I was like, I'm really excited to get into Mockingjay because I have no idea what's going to happen in this book. I can't remember what happens in this book, and I didn't even finish this book in high school. I started it, didn't finish it, and I didn't remember why. After reading this book, I now know why I didn't finish this book. It's because it's the worst one in the trilogy. I don't want to spoil anything, but I feel like it's been how long since this book has been out / the movies have been out. I don't feel like you should be spoiled, but I'm not going to say anything just in case, for the off chance you guys have not A, read the book, or B, seen the movies. But I feel like I grew a deep dislike for Katniss's character in this book, purely just because she became so useless. She became so useless. Like, in the first 2 books, she was, doing so many things. She was actually the heart of the rebellion. She was doing things that actually rebelled against the Capitol, which made her the star of the rebellion. But in this book, she just became a nuisance. And she just kind of became compliant in letting a lot of people die. And it rubbed me so wrong. And, she was just playing the leader in a lot of things, and she just became the reason for a lot of deaths. Not to mention, there's a character death in here that didn't make any sense to me. And I could rant for a good hour about all of the reasons why I dislike this book and how meaningless this book is, and why I think this book could have been written a lot better. There's a lot of throwaway deaths in here, a lot of stupid writing. I don't know. I feel like maybe this was rushed in a way. There's just a lot of careless plotting. And yeah, there's not enough words. I feel like I need a whole video as per why. I just need to break down the whole entirety from start to finish of the reasonings behind why I think this is just a poorly plotted book. Purely just because Katniss's character just doesn't make any sense from where her development goes from the first 2 books to now. The whole Peeta versus Gale situation is just, it's stupid in regards to this book. First of all, Katniss does not deserve Peeta. And there's so many reasons why in this book in particular, like, just an example, he's always there for her. He's always there for her in the last, like, every step of the way. He's always there for her no matter what. And the moment, he needs her to be there, she's gone in this book. The moment he's not a sweetie pie, she's gone. It's just an infuriating time, and I could go on. But anyways, I gave this book 3.5 stars, and I think that was really generous of me. I think I could have rated this a lot lower. And I think after some introspection and maybe a long rant, I might just. So 3.5 might just go down a little lower after some time and some thought. So yeah, 3.5 for now. You guys, the next book. it was my book club book, and that is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. Now, this book, I wasn't really in the mood to read like a rom-com-y book, and still, even though I wasn't really in the mood to read this type of book, I was still having the best time. So for this book, this is like the first book where it's not like a continuation. Um, the plot of this book is like we have this woman who's like a single mom, and her daughter, her 12-year-old daughter, calls into this radio station that does like it's like a romance radio station, calls into this radio station and is like trying to get some love advice for her mom. And then her mom walks in and basically picks up the phone and somehow, some way gets onto this radio station as like the host. And it's so cute. It's like that one movie, Sleepless in Seattle, kind of. And I loved it. I loved the banter in this, and it's just like hits you. It's very much a rom-com-y type of book. And I loved Lucy. She's like a mechanic, which we love. We love killing those gender norms. We stand. But yeah, everything about this. The banter was fantastic. The characters are so cute. Her daughter, adorable. Just like all of the elements, even like there's like little transcripts in here that have like little portions of the radio show. Let me see if I can find one. There's like little portions in here that like show like the actual like what they say in the radio show, and I think it's just really fun. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. All of the characters are really fun. I don't think there was a single character that I didn't enjoy, and I think my biggest problem with some rom-coms is that when you have side characters, it's kind of hard to balance side characters. And what I mean by that is that you put too much on side characters, so they take too much light from your main characters. So it's like, whose story are we telling? Or you don't you don't put too much on your side characters, so they feel more like tools than actual characters. But I think B.K. Borison does a really good job of balancing everything out, so they felt like real characters. We got to know them, and it made me want more of those characters without them feeling overwhelming to the story. And I felt like it was a really good balance. Yeah, my entire book club loved this book. And I'm talking people who don't even really read romance, like romance is outside of their genre, loved this book. Loved this book. There wasn't a single person who didn't love this book in my book club. So yeah, everyone really enjoyed this book. So yeah, I gave this book 4.75 stars. It was really cute. And yeah, our book club will be reading the second book, and now back to you, because everyone wanted to continue. Everyone wants to know about the one of the side characters. It's his story, and everyone wants to know what's going on with him. So I'm really excited to get into that one. So yeah. All right. Next up, I listened to the audiobook for Game On by Nevessa Ellen, and what a phenomenal audiobook it was. I ate it up. I don't know what Nevessa Allen does, but she kills it with these audiobooks. I listened to Lights Out and Caught Up, but I think Game On might be my favorite one thus far. And Lights Out was really good. But anyways, Caught Up, it follows this MMC. MMC is the best friend to the MMC from Lights Out. And this MMC, he is determined to destroy his biological father, and the way he's going to do that is to fake date, or basically blackmail this woman into fake dating him. And this woman, she is, well, her parents are financially tied to his biological father. So that's his end to financially destroying his biological father. So that's basically the premise of the book. And man, oh man, if you want a true enemies to lovers, this book is it. This book is it. I was eating it up. It was so freaking good. They hate each other. They hate each other. It takes a long time for them to even slowly like each other. Like the tension is there. They have like physical attraction, but to actually like each other, oh, it takes a hot minute. And I was dying for it. It was so freaking good. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. And this MMC, you just love to hate him. And the one-liners were so funny. I was cackling. It was such a great time. I was listening to this book on my way. I was driving to BookCon, so I was going to New York. So I was listening to this entire book on my drive because it's a 12 and a half hour drive from Illinois. And I was locked in for the entire drive. I thought I would get a little tired because I left at like 5 a.m. I was wide awake because it was such a great book. I couldn't stop. I was not like I could pause the book, but I didn't want to. It was so good. I was locked in and I finished it that day. I didn't want to switch it to anything else, didn't want to play any music. I wanted to finish it that day. So yeah, I gave the book 5 stars. Absolutely, probably the best one of the bunch. Best trilogy, honestly. So good. Next up, I have this duology that I've been putting off for 7 years. I honestly don't know why I've been putting it off for so long. I've just been scared to read it because I've heard so many mixed reviews. But this duology is Heartless Hunter and Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. And wow. Literally wow. I'm actually pretty upset because I actually thoroughly enjoyed this duology here. And this is like a duology that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. I loved it. There is a lot going on here. So we have a witch and we have a witch hunter. So we have this woman who is just trying to get a specific witch out of the clutches of the witch hunters. It was her nan's, the woman who raised her, last wish before she was murdered by the witch hunters. So she's trying to fulfill this, but in the meantime, like since she's been searching for this witch to try to get her to safety, she has become sort of like a vigilante for the witches and has taken on the moniker of Crimson Moth because when she does her magic, like a moth appears in blood because like in order to do their magic, they have to like use blood to do their magic. And so a moth in blood appears. It's like her calling card. But anyways, so her goal is to save this witch from the witch hunters. So she has to get close to this specific witch hunter who is like the witch hunter. But he also is trying to find this Crimson Moth. And so it's like a cat and mouse situation, and I was eating it up. This is literally another true enemies to lovers, like they quite literally hate, and I do mean hate each other. Hate each other. So yeah, I was on the edge of my seat. I can confirm tears were cried at the end of this book. It was an emotional roller coaster. I did not know what to expect. There was a lot to be had, like a lot of feelings to be had. Much was happening. Betrayals were had as well. There was a plot twist that I did kind of see coming, that I did see coming, but to the extent that happened, no, I was upset. But this was absolutely worth it. I ate this up. Both of these books I ate up, to the point where I didn't want to ever put it down. I started this as an audiobook, because I was reading it during work, and then by the end of work, I didn't want to put it down. So like I ended up like reading it with my headphones in, like I was just reading it with audio. Immersive reading it, that's what I was looking for. Immersive reading it, because I just didn't want to stop. Like that's how much this these books had a hold on me. So I rated both of these books 5 stars. I loved these books. They had a chokehold on me. Yep. 10 out of 10. So good. Again, you're either going to love these books or hate these books. There is some miscommunication, and I usually hate a miscommunication trope, but I don't think it bugged me as much in here, because I think it was used well enough to add to some of the tension instead of just being miscommunication just for the fun of it, you know? And then again, I used audiobook for a lot of this, so I could just like speed past some of it. I don't know. But it didn't really bug me, as it usually does. But that's a fair warning. If you don't like the miscommunication trope, it is used in here, but didn't bug me. Queen of hates miscommunication. Just throwing it out there. But 5-star reads. So freaking good. Next up, I have The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. Now, this book is kind of hard to describe, purely just because there's a lot going on. It's like a thriller with like historical fiction, and you throw in some magical realism. It's a fun time. We got this woman who like thinks, well, it's kind of like well known in her family that all of the women go a little nutso. They go crazy. So she's already kind of decided that she's not going to have any family. She's not going to have any relationships. She doesn't want to put that burden on anyone in her life. So she's decided that's not going to be for her. So after her grandmother passes, after her grandmother's just like gone, she's had to be taken care of, because her grandmother was seeing things and going crazy, as her family members do. She's realized that it's starting to happen to her, where she's starting to see things that aren't there. And in her grandmother's post-death, she gets a piece of mail, and things start to come together, and she starts learning information about her family that doesn't make a lot of sense as far as her timeline goes. So pieces start to come together, and I don't want to go too much into it, but we get some time travel going on in this book. And yeah, it's a wild ride. I didn't see coming, because I went into this relatively blind. I didn't know we were going to be getting some time travel in here, but we do. And you got to buckle up. You gotta buckle up. It is a lot to take in. It is a lot to take in, but it is so satisfying. It is such an interesting take on time travel. I think the magic system in here is unique. I really love Adrienne Young's like approach, and her writing style is really fun. I love the characters in here. The just the way that she details everything in like the plot points, like everything is laid out so intricately. It makes sense, but I was just like, my brain was like getting melted because I was like, wow, everything was just like coming together. And I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. But I was like, whoa, just everything was plotted so beautifully. Like, I was like, the way everything comes together, I literally speechless. Speechless. Like, I have to give Adrienne Young all of her flowers because this book is not that long, but the story is so complex. You wouldn't think, again, so thin, but it's such a complex story, but it's laid out so nicely, easily, easily digestible, but it's fantastically written. One of my favorite books, honestly, this year. So well done and so intense. 10 out of 10. I gave this book 5 stars. Gave this book 5 stars. Go read it. If you need something that's like going to put you on edge, and this is like a palate cleanser for sure. Like there's a romance subplot in here, but it's mostly like a thriller-y type of book. Well, like I said, it's like a historical fiction-y magical realism. Like I said, it's like a mishmash of genres. Um, yeah, this is a good palate cleanser for sure. So good. Just give it a go. If this has been on your shelf for a while, give it a go. All right, let's get into a couple of books that I wish, honestly, that I never found. Um, so the first one is Primal, and the second one being Raw. It's a duology by Kaylee King. So Primal started off good. We follow this girl who just lost her mother, and she has been instructed to go back to her pack because this is a rejected mate book. So she's going back to her original pack that she left with her mother, and she's going to request to spread her mother's ashes on her mother's mate's grave, her father's grave. And when she gets there, she meets the pack alpha, and that pack alpha is her, lo and behold, mate. And unfortunately, things do not go as planned, and Mans ends up rejecting her. And yeah. My issues with this book. Well, I think Primal was a solid start. I think that book was interesting. I think the pacing is not too bad. I think it's fine. I think it's a good book. I gave that book 4 stars. Yeah, it's good enough. I think where we really lost me here is Raw, the second book in this duology. This duology could have been good. Could have been good. The second book is 700 pages. It could have been 400 pages less. 400 pages less. 400 pages. It was so long, and it took me 3 weeks to get through. Could I have DNF'd it? Absolutely. But at a certain point, I was determined. I was like, I'm not going to let this book beat me. It was so dragged out. We had just an egregious amount of repetitive situations, and I just couldn't understand why we had to go over the same things over and over and over again. Not to mention the big plot twist weren't really plot twists. It was all very predictable. The unveiling of the villains. We all knew who the villains were. The climax at the end lasted a few, 50 pages maybe. It just, nothing felt worth it to me. So the duology in and itself felt like a waste of time. I gave the second book, I think, what did I give it? 2.5 stars, and I think that was generous. Yeah, I think the two books in its entirety, big waste of time for me. So I think Kaylee King is going to be writing more books for the other characters. I will not be reading those because I already feel like I gave that series too much of my time, and I will not be giving any more of it my time. So I regret ever looking for a wolf book because I was like, well, I'm feeling like a werewolf book that's complete. Biggest mistake of my life on that one. Yeah, hate that for me. Hate that for me. So, yeah. Anyways, moving on to the stats. All right, so stats. I read a whopping 8 audiobooks. I know. I didn't get to sit down and read a lot of books this go round purely just because I was busy prepping for BookCon and everything. So audiobooks were my best friend this month. So I read 8 audiobooks, and then I read one physical book. That was my book club book. And then I read 3 Kindle books, and two of those books was those god awful wolf books. Well, just the second book. The first book was just okay, but you know. So yeah, that brings me to a total of 12 books read for the month of April. So yeah, not too bad of a month all around. I wish I could have physically read more books instead of just listening to them, but you know, it is what it is. As far as favorite books for the month of April, honestly, it's pretty much, I'd say it's kind of a toss-up. I'd say maybe between Game On and Heartless Hunter, and it's because Game On had some one-liners in there that still, I think about them and they make me laugh in this moment. I still think about lines from that book, and they're so funny. I loved Game On so much, but Heartless Hunter was so emotionally driving, and it's been so long since I have needed to keep reading a book to the point where I was like, I can't do anything else. I need to keep reading. And Heartless Hunter did that for me. So I think Game On and Heartless Hunter are kind of a toss-up for my favorite reads for April. Most anticipated read for the month of May. I think my most anticipated read for me would be Frozen by Stardust. I think that's going to be the book that I plan on getting to this month for sure, because I'll be rereading the Beast of the Briar series because they just released Frozen by Stardust this past month in April. And I've been waiting for Frozen by Stardust for the past year and a half to come out. So I'm really excited to finally get into book 5 of that series. Blessed be. So yeah, that's my most anticipated read for the month of May. Words. And yeah, so really excited for that. But yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you guys had a wonderful reading month in April. Let me know what your favorite book or least favorite book of April was. And until next time, guys, read on, my bookish friends.